Hey there YouTube, I'm coming back with another contest response video, and this one is for Joy Brings It, and he had a giveaway that he was doing, and he was asking to hear our collecting goals for 2018, and I'd already planned on doing a video kind of taking a year-end status of all the different collecting projects that I was doing and an overall summary of my collection. So I thought this would be kind of a good way to do that, and then also list some goals for each of the different projects and things that I was working on. And definitely encourage you to check out Joey Brings It. Has an amazing collection of cards and autographs, lots of vintage and lots of your non-mainstream, slightly non-standard items, which stuff that I especially love. So definitely really admire his collection. And if you watch his videos, you're going to know right away he is a guy that is enthusiastic and passionate about this hobby. So I encourage you to check him out. And now, boy, when I started doing this, preparing for this video, it slapped me in the face that I've got a ton of different projects. And so let's start cranking out on these and getting to them. Okay, first up, first and foremost, I am a Hall of Fame card collector, and currently there are 316 members of the Hall of Fame. I have cards in my collection for 290 of those members. Now, I'm anticipating we're probably going to see 6 new members of the Hall of Fame added this year. 2 of them have already been determined, and I'm anticipating the writers are going to put in 4 more in addition to those 2. So that's going to give us 322 by year's end. And as much as I'd like to just set my goal to finish this composite, I just don't want to be chasing some filler cards just to do it, so I'm setting the goal a little bit more modest to only being 306, so that's going to be 10 guys I don't have, plus the 6 that are coming in that I'll already have cards for once they're named. So there's that one. Now, of the members of the Hall of Fame, something that I really want is a card of each player that was issued during their active career, whether that was as a player, a manager, if they were an executive, or working within baseball and as an umpire or something like that. I'd like it to be during their active career. Now, for a lot of players, or not actually, it's the executives, owners, pioneers, and some of the Negro League players, that is next to impossible. So what I've done is, of the members in the Hall of Fame currently, if you take out anybody that didn't either play or manage for a Major League Baseball team, it's 248 players. I have cards that were issued for 186 of them during their active careers. Now, also once again, anticipating 6 new members into the Hall of Fame. I'm going to have all of those that are going to be named. That would give you 254. And I'm setting my goal to get up to 200. That doesn't seem like a lot. It's only 8. But of the guys I have left to get, it's going to be tough to get 8 of them. It's actually really an ambitious goal as far as a budget standpoint for me. So I'm not even sure that I'll be able to do it, but that's the goal I'm setting. Now, another area of collecting that I do is I like to collect cards of major award winners, and I like to set it up for the card to have been issued in the year that that player won the award. It's kind of my own little restricted sets that I dream up, and I don't set any other restrictions on the cards other than it had to be issued for that player when the year they won the award. So any set or anything like that, and I don't care if it's graded or not, but I want it from the year. Now, I haven't done a real good job of tracking these as far as who all I've got on a lot of these, so I don't know my completion numbers on these at all. I just kind of have a vague idea of who I still need. So kind of going through here, first one here is American League MVPs, and I'm only going on these from 1950 forward. Going beyond that, it's just too expensive for me to try and chase in those. So here with the American League MVPs, my goal is to add 1971 Vida Blue. He's one of the oldest cards that I know is a gap in my set that I don't have. My dream pickup would be either a 56 or a 57 Mickey Mantle, because those cards are just unreal expensive, and those are going to be probably gaps in this project for me for quite some time. Now with my National League MVPs, that restricted set, I'm setting a goal to try and get one of these three cards that I have as gaps, either 1951 Roy Campanella, 1954 Willie Mays, or a 1957 Hank Aaron. You know, all three of those cards, none of them are cheap, but they're not excessively expensive like the mantles would be on the American League set. So I think I should be able to get one of these sometime during the year. Next, I've got my World Series MVPs. My goal is 1970 Brooks Robinson. It's one of the gaps I have. The dream pickup would be a 1958 Larry Sherry, and the reason that's a dream pickup is I'm not even sure if a card exists for that. He was the 1958 World Series MVP, but he wasn't included in the 1958 top set, and there was no Bowman that year. I'm not sure that there's any card that exists for it. Possibly there might be some team issued postcard or something like that that I haven't found or been able to come across. If somebody knows of something that exists, please let me know. I would love to know if there's at least something that I could be looking for on that. Next is All-Star Game MVPs. And my goal for that year is 1962 Leon Wagner and also 1966 Brooks Robinson. Like to fill both of those gaps. That brings us to Cy Young Award winners. Now, the Cy Young Award from 1956 to 1966, it was one pitcher for all of Major League Baseball, both leagues combined, and I've got cards for all of those years. And then 1967 was the first year they separated it out, where they awarded a National League Cy Young Award and a American League Cy Young Award. Now, for the American League Cy Young Award, a couple of gaps that I have is, again, the 1971 Vida Blue. That is also my goal for the American League MVPs. And so I also added possibly the 1974 Jim Catfish Hunter to be a goal. Then for the National League Cy Young winners, the gap that I'm looking to fill will be the 1976 Randy Jones. So those are my own unique little composites that I have that I'm trying to build. Now I'm going to get into some of my PSA set registry projects and goals that I'm working on. And for the first one is the 1950 Callahan Set. And this is only counting my PSA graded cards. I've got a number of cards from this set that are raw. So that's going to be part of what plays into my goals, is getting those raw cards graded so that I can get them added to my set. Now, with the Callahan set, I currently have 17 of the 91 cards in PSA graded. My goal for the year is to get to 30 of the 91, so that would basically get me to a third of the way complete on that set. The next set that I'm working on is the 1960 FLIR Set. I've got 23 out of 79 of those cards on the PSA registry, so just under 30%. Trying to set the goal here, just getting to 30 out of 79. I'm hoping that's not, too difficult to get to that with all the other projects that I've got. It's really just trying to focus on finding a card once every other month to add to that one, or getting the handful of raw ones that I have sent into PSA to get graded. The next one is the 1961-62 FLIR Set. That one's a lot bigger than the 60 FLIR Set, and it's 154 cards. Currently, I've only got 17 that are PSA graded from that set. My goal here by the end of the year is just getting a little bit further along on that, at least 25, which, once again, pretty modest goal. Really, I'd like to find a project on one of these where I make a lot of headway in the year and I can make that my primary goal for 2019. So that's something that I'll at least hope can happen. Next up is my 1964 Topps Giants set. Currently I have 11 out of the 60 cards PSA graded after my Mickey Mantle card that I'd sent in to them came back. I was a tad disappointed to only get a 5. I really thought it was probably a 6, but wasn't to be. So currently 11 out of 60. I'd like to, over the course of the year, get a lot of the ones that I have raw sent in and pick up a couple more, and then get to 20 out of 60 and be a third of the way done by the end of the year. And possibly that might be next year's big push, if I make some good headway on this one then. So those are the factory sets that I'm doing. Now, I'm also trying to do a number of different composite sets, and the big one here is the Hall of Fame Players Set. Now, this set, it allows you to add any PSA graded card of a Hall of Fame player, so it excludes anybody that isn't inducted as a player, which is currently 257 different players. Now, I have 210 currently, and when I was setting this up, I didn't account for the new ones that would be coming in, so I set my goal here for 225 of those. to get added here is get a PSA graded card for each of them. And once again, it's like if I set my mind to it, I could probably just crank this one all out, but I don't want to chase kind of low quality filler cards, so that's why I'm kind of setting the goal as a little bit more modest for this. Now, in addition to the Hall of Fame players composite, there's also a Hall of Fame managers, which has 23 people that were inducted into the Hall of Fame as managers. I'm actually complete for this set, and I currently have the 10th best set on the registry. And so my goal is just to try and do an upgrade. And when I was looking at the set, the sore one that stuck out was where it had the most opportunity is Leo DeRocher. The only PSA graded card I had for him was a Redmond card, which is actually graded a poor. And so my goal here is to get an upgraded PSA card for him and get some boost to my points there. Now, another registry that I do has the Hall of Fame players, managers, owners, executives, pioneers, and umpires. Everybody that's in the Hall of Fame having a PSA graded card for all of them. Now, currently we've got 316 Hall of Fame members, and I have a PSA graded card for 246 of them, so not quite 78%. And now I'm anticipating the 6 new members that will be coming into the Hall of Fame. You know, if it's more or less than that, well, this goal will shift slightly, but my goal is to be up to 275. And once again, I'm setting it kind of modest there just so that I don't go off chasing marginal filler cards just to reach it. Now, one of the sets that I enjoy the most and fits my collecting desire as far as getting active career cards is the Hall of Fame restricted set, which is players, managers, owners, umpires, and that set registry has 285 players and contributors into the Hall of Fame, because there's a lot of guys such as Negro Leaguers, owners, some pioneers, that there isn't a card that was issued during their active careers that PSA even grades, so there isn't any opportunity to fill a slot for them, so PSA doesn't even put them into the registry. So of the 285 that it's 279 currently. It'll be 285 probably when the new Hall of Fame class is inducted. So I've got 162 out of 279 right now. My goal would be to get to 185 out of 285. So basically I want to get to where I'm down to 100 of these, which is still kind of a lofty goal, because there's not a whole lot of guys out of that 100 and some odd players that are easily and inexpensively obtained. Now, this next registry that I do is one that appeals to my type collecting nature, and they call it the PSA Ultimate Vintage Sampler Set, or something similar to that. And it is 125 different sets from 1887 to 1975, and you're able to it's basically a type collection of those different sets, where you need to have one card from each of those different sets. I currently have PSA graded examples for 62 out of those 125 sets, so just under 50%, and my goal is to get up to 70 by the end of the year. So once again, that seems kind of modest, but that's actually rather ambitious because most of the sets that I don't have are getting into a lot more older, more or are very rare sets. There might be some different test issue sets that Topps did in the 60s and 70s. Are a few of those which can be rather expensive to obtain as well. And one of the more famous registries that PSA offers is the 300 Great Baseball Cards by Mike Payne. Lots of members here in the community are doing that. Baseball Collector and Ray from Philly, two right off the top of my head. I've got a registry started for this, but I don't really pursue it that hard. Currently, I've got 26 out of the 300 cards from that registry. My goal, once again, really modest here, is to get to 10%, so getting to 30 out of 300. Now, another thing that PSA does that I think is really cool is they create registries for what they call the Decades of the Hall of Fame. And so this first one here is the 1960s Topps Decades of the Hall of Fame, which is the standard base card that was issued in each year for every Hall of Famer. So, for example, every Hall of Famer that's in the 1960, 61, all the way through 69, their base cards all make up this registry. So for the 60s, that's 409 different cards of Hall of Famers. I currently have 84 of those, so that's just over 20%, and my goal then would be to get to 100 by the end of the year. We don't anticipate any new Hall of Famers from that playing era, so that's a good one, that this one should stay stable, but getting up to the 100 would be my goal for then the same type of registry for 1970s Topps Hall of Famers. That set is currently 400 different cards, and I currently have 120, so right exactly at 30%. This one's probably going to increase a little bit with Jack Morris and Alan Trammell going into the Hall of Fame. It's going to add a couple more to this set. I didn't do the math to figure that out, but so I'm just setting the goal to get up to 35% by the end of the year on this one. Then for the 80s decade of the Hall, there are 366 cards, and I currently have 81 that are PSA graded. Obviously, I have probably a bunch more that are raw, so getting some of those submitted would probably be a way to bump up on this one. And I know this one's probably going to get an increase quite a bit as well. So really, the goal here is just kind of almost just staying in position, because as some of these new Hall of Famers get added, it's going to add more cards to this registry. So if I just keeping it somewhat close to the same is actually going to take, quite adding a number of cards just to stay at the same percentage. So I'm just setting the goal to be at about 25%. Now, they also have an 80s Donruss Hall of Fame, which is same concept, only it's the base Donruss cards for those Hall of Famers. Now, currently that one has 282 cards in the registry, and I've only got 34 because I tend to focus on buying the Topps cards more than I do the Donruss. So I'm only just over 10% on this one. And once again, to just tread water and stay at the same percentage once these new Hall of Famers are added is actually going to probably be an accomplishment. So if I'm at 13% at the end of the year, I'm going to call that a success. Now, I've also got a 90s decade of the Hall of Fame set as well, and I'm at 16% or whatever completed on that one, and that's going to get a ton of cards added to it this year. And so my goal is not to try and mess with this one really at all, just focus elsewhere and not try to even worry about doing much with this one. So there's all of them. I've been through a whole lot there. I appreciate everybody that's stuck with me here now, almost 30 minutes, but it's a lot of projects to try and cover. So really, my goal now, I think, is find just a couple of these to really focus and concentrate on, and hopefully next year it'll be much more condensed and I'll be more focused on making a lot of progress on a couple of projects instead of a little bit of progress on lots and lots of projects. So thanks for sticking with me. Remember, once again, check out Joey Brings It, and I will be talking to all of you again soon. Take care.